Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Film School Show. My name is Jared Haskell. We have another great episode for you today.
Do we?
I think so. I mean, isn't every episode a great episode, Jason?
I mean, I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's why we do it.
Yeah. I think
To
today
try to do a good job.
I think today is applicable to a lot of filmmakers out there because we're kind of going through, I would say, a weird state of maybe the economy, state of the booking season. And so I hope today's episode will help everyone, no matter where they are in the life of their wedding film business. Why don't you introduce today's topic, Jay?
All right. So today we're going to be talking about, and I don't know what the actual title is because sometimes we decide the title after we talk about it for an hour. But essentially we're talking about signaling and relating and connecting with clients, especially in a sales call. But I think it's applicable to the entire relationship with clients. And kind of like what inspired me to think about it was we've had a couple interactions with people where the way that we listened and what we communicated to the couple / family / planners, it's really about building trust. And so how do we build more trust with people? And I think signaling to them, like, I understand you. I have been there before. Like communicating unspoken things to people that build trust is so important. And I think it's something that so many people, and I'm not the best at it, like in the whole world, like there are way better people, but I promise you, whoever is selling at the top of the game, there's of course unicorns out there who don't do this at all and are so good and lucky that they just end up not having to do this. But most people who are doing well in weddings do very well at one particular thing. And there's a big variety of skill in terms of shooting and how they shoot. And like the one thing I think that binds them all together is they know how to communicate their value but also mirror back the values of their couples very well in an authentic way. And so we're going to talk about that because what we don't want to tell you is, today's about lying to couples to trick them into hiring you. What we're saying is, how can you do something that is going to feel a little weird? It might feel like bragging, or it might feel like just randomly saying things, or you might feel a little uncomfortable without lying and without being disingenuous, because people pick up on that too. So I think there's like the pillars of like listening, communicating, and of course, being authentic all need to kind of come together. And that's really how you signal to couples that you're safe and that you understand them. And so we're going to be talking about signaling today. And, but before we do that, I was going to mention, we have an awesome show sponsor. Really excited to be partnering with them this season, which is Second Society. So head over to secondsociety.io. If you are a second shooter or just any kind of shooter looking to work with amazing wedding filmmakers, if you would like to hire them, head over there and you can use our code WFS3 for 3 free months on the VIP membership. And it's a really, really, really cool service. So head over to secondsociety.io and get signed up.
Yep. I'm on Second Society right now. And, if you're not familiar with Second Society, what it is it's a site that essentially populates great second shooters, great lead shooters that can potentially fill in for you, help you out on some projects that you have. I think it's mostly kind of wedding driven right now, but it could probably also be used for commercial jobs as well. And they're really building, I think, a great community. Like I said, I'm on there now. I'm looking at 5 different events that are happening within 100 miles of our studio right now. And what I think it could be helpful for is filmmakers that maybe don't have a super booked schedule. Maybe things are down this year. Maybe you're just building your clientele right now, but you want to stay busy. And Second Society is a great way.
I don't think you should ever have a season where you go into hibernation. I think if you got to get reps.
Right.
So.
Right. So Second Society is a great way to kind of fill up your calendar and make it so that you can learn from other people that might be a little bit more experienced for you. Essentially, in a lot of ways, it's probably, cheating internship.
And a paid internship.
Yeah, a paid internship where you can, make your wage and negotiate with people. So like Jay said, head over to secondsociety.com.
Is it
sign up.
.com or
Oh,
.io?
sorry. Secondsociety.io. I apologize. Secondsociety.io.
That's why I do the ad read.
Although I never do these. I never type in the actual URL. I just Google everything.
Yeah,
so.
I honestly think if most people are just writing www.secondsociety, enter.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. But check it out. Create an account and you can hop in and find out for yourself. So let's dive into today's subject. And I actually titled today's subject Irresistible Sales because
Well, I love
I think
that.
it's very applicable to kind of what we're going to be talking about today. I think people that are first starting out in wedding filmmaking or maybe just filmmaking in general, they have a certain skill. That's the reason why they are doing this. Maybe they enjoy it. They are good filmmakers. They have a knack for it. But oftentimes people that are really good at maybe editing, shooting, maybe the social side isn't that great. Maybe it's great. I would say a majority of wedding filmmakers that I've met haven't started being great at the socialization side.
Or even like understanding brides or
Yeah.
caring about
What do
wedding
they know?
dresses or
They know YouTube, they know camera equipment, they know how to edit. And I think that in a lot of ways, I kind of cheated the system. My backstory comes from I worked in a call center before I really dove deep into media. So the year before I went to film school, essentially, I worked in a call center for a full year. And that really set me up.
asking people for money.
Asking people, to go on trips. And it was a weird thing. I hated every second of it. But I learned a lot through it. And for me, once I learned, I became the DP of a production company down in Texas, was there for 5 years after that. And then when you and I decided to start the company, it just quickly fell into my hands of like, I'll hop on the phone with these people because I'm used to just working people over the phone. But it was a cheat code for us. It really launched us into the company that we were able to
I have a background
create.
in like pastoral ministry, so
Yeah.
I'm dealing with all kinds of people
Yep.
that are from different walks of life. I had taught high school for 12 years. So like these are people skills. And I'm not naturally good at these things, but I had to learn the skills. So if you're like a non-people person, I'll represent that side in this call, and Jared can be the people person.
Totally.
But my point is only to say, if you're hearing this and you're like, I'm not like that. I'm this type of person. I can't do X, Y, or Z. It's like, A, you can. B, you must. Like, you
I
must.
love that. There is no try. Right?
Yeah, do or do not. There is no
Yeah.
try. Like you have to do at least a portion of this type of things in your sales calls and in your sales call, whatever you do for sales, to close the deal. You just this isn't like. I think maybe like you were kind of talking about getting started, and I think if you're listening to this, I don't think this is just people getting started, but I think definitely people getting started think this is.
Yeah. It's definitely a good recap for people that have been in the industry for a long time.
They think what the point of a sales call is to show them the thing they make and to convince them to buy it or explain it more. And the actual point of a sales call is to make them comfortable with you.
Yeah. I say garner trust.
Just trust.
You want them to trust you because then when you actually, based on nothing, like if you start a conversation, you just start telling them about yourself, they could be like, this person's lying to me. There's a reason, but whatever. The whole reason, I would say the first half of my conversation in consultation with people is just gaining people's trust. The second half is now that I have a little bit of trust and I actually seem like a trustworthy person and there's a reason why we do certain things. Now I can say, this is why we do certain things. These are our packages. This is why we've constructed them this way. This is why I think you might want to lean this way versus that way. Again, totally up to you, but this is why we do things. And most people want to do this. And they
But
actually
even that is like,
have some credibility.
yeah. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't know what you wrote down on that paper. So
Yeah, well, I would say, the first thing I would just say is you're going to have to customize your own kind of sales pitch, and I would say write it all down. It's not going to be what I say, but I think today we want to talk maybe a little bit about the philosophy of maybe why we do things a certain way, and maybe give some tips and tricks, but you're going to have to, at the end of the day, kind of craft your own sales pitch.
Yeah, we do want to give you something practical. So if you stick around, like we're going to try to give you some do's and don'ts.
And it will really come down to, like, it's different based on your personality, but it's also different based on what you're trying to sell people. So like,
and we'll talk about that too, because we have a lot of context.
Yep. So the first thing we kind of put down is like being a good listener. So maybe dive into what that means to you.
So let me
Jason.
ask you a question, Jared.
Yeah.
Do you think most people think I'm a good listener?
No.
Am I a good listener?
I think so. Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that
Because you like to talk.
Yes. Whatever flaws that you have, and if you talk too much, that's bad, but that's just talking too much. So you shouldn't talk too much. But that being said, just because you don't talk too much doesn't mean you're a good listener. And so what is listening in your mind?
I would say listening is being able to take something that someone said to you and being able to say it back to them.
I think that that's a big part, but I would say I would add another layer to it. And by caring, I don't mean like feeling emotion about it, but I mean, to me, listening is hearing what someone says and caring about it enough to factor it into how you speak to them and what you say. And a lot of people, my dad would get so mad at me growing up because we'd have arguments or whatever, and he would be like, he would always go, Jay, stop thinking about what you're going to say next and listen to me. I wasn't saying anything. It made me so mad growing up. And he was totally right, though. I wasn't listening. I was just thinking about what my retort is or whatever I wanted to say. And a lot of salespeople in the wedding, they're not listening to people. Like, people are dropping all these little breadcrumbs when they're talking to you, when they're inquiring, when they're like, so like, let's talk about what do you need to listen to. So what are the things that a person, someone reaches out to you? Let's imagine it's a Huxley lead. So it's potentially a high ticket sale with a certain type of person. What is the things you're going to do if you have time to fully listen to this client? But even before a sales call, but even on a sale, like, what are the things that are going to factor that into you?
I mean, so in our form, they write down a kind of basic, broad, like, this is where we're getting married. This is, some things that maybe they give a little bit of bio of themselves and the day. I make sure to kind of include that. So I'm seeing this here, kind of capitalize on that a little bit. And I'll ask them to like walk me through maybe some things that are important to them on the day of. And I try to be very strategic about telling them, don't tell me about what you want in a film. Tell me about what you want in your day. Like, because they have an understanding of what they want for their day. They might not understand what they want in a film. They're just like, I don't know, do a good job. Like, they don't really know the action points for a filmmaker, or even how to have a conversation with a filmmaker. So I try to make it really easy for them.
Like, you're not putting the onus on the client
make it
to
easy
communicate your expertise.
Yes. Make it easy for them to talk.
Yes.
Is a big part of it. Is just, what do you know? Talk about that. Because I want to hear, so then I can have things to actually like work with.
A lot of people need a head of steam to talk to you. If you don't give them something to get the ball, like, there are times, and I've been on calls where I'm like, I got to get this person talking more.
Yep.
Because I don't even like.
And that's a great place to start. It's just like, talk about your day a little bit. Talk about the aspects that are important. Talk about, is your ceremony important to you? Some people will say no, like, we're getting married in a church, but we're really doing it to make my mom happy. That's huge. Like, if I can understand that, because then how much of that am I going to include in the wedding film? Probably not a lot.
How much of this listening, though, starts before you even get on the phone?
I look through the document and try to understand, like, put myself in the headspace of like, okay, they're getting married at this venue. I've worked there before. Most of our team has worked there before. We've worked there with these many photographers.
But let's imagine you didn't work there before. Let's imagine you are new.
Yeah.
You're just getting these inquiries.
If I haven't worked there, I'm doing a Google search of like, hey,
listening.
I haven't worked there before. What are some aspects that I should know? Okay, it's on the Cape, so I know traffic might be a pain. It's in September on Labor Day weekend. Traffic is definitely going to be a pain. Just kind of putting yourself in the headspace to talk to this person, because
I think the first thing someone reaches out to you, every piece of information they give you, you need to go, if there's anything on there that you don't know, you need to go no. And if there is anything on there you do know, you need to think of what you're going to say about it. Like this is the simplest way I can put it. If they say the photographer is Teresa Kelly, I'm going to go look at Teresa Kelly. Oh, she has a good amount of Instagram followers. Oh, her style's like this. Oh, why would a person hire a person like this? All super hipster. Oh, I need to signal that I'm comfortable working with this person. Oh, it's in this venue. I've never been to this venue. I can't sound like that on the phone.
Right.
Like the last thing you should say to someone is, "Oh, yeah, I hope I get to work there someday." Like I'm going to be like, "Oh, that is so beautiful." Now I'm not going to lie and say that I've been there, but I'm going to let them know I'm familiar. Because so it's all about like this person is giving you so many opportunities to pair it back to them, that you understand them, that you're safe before you even get on the call. They're giving you all these easy layups, like they say $20,000 for a wedding film or something. Like maybe they say that on their thing. They're telling you that they're comfortable sending $20,000. Like there's so many things. And if you get on the call, you ever go to a meeting, and some people don't go to meetings, but you ever go to a meeting and you're supposed to talk about a subject with someone? And most of your meetings are probably with me, so maybe this happens sometimes, and the person has not spent any time preparing.
Yes.
And so like all the things you said you're going to talk about, the person's like opening their phone, going to the spreadsheet, looking at it for the first time.
Yep.
That makes me furious when I go to those meetings, and I will sometimes end them. Yeah. I'll be like, "Hey, listen, you're clearly not prepared. Let's have a meeting next week when you're prepared." And I think a lot of people are like that. These people who you get on a sales call with are not going to be happy if you say, "It's so lit. I think this matters. Tell me if you agree." If you say, "Where are you getting married?" And they told you on the form.
Yep.
Strike one.
Yep.
And people don't realize that. I think that's a huge strike.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the person told you, and you're not listening to them.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about like speaking the secret language. Like this is maybe an aspect of that, of like, hey, they already told you. Why are you asking them again? You're wasting their time. Like instead being like, "Oh, I see that you're getting married at Castle Hill. Like we're there all the time. We love it over there. Tell me why you love it." Like that's just going to set you up so much better to like, oh, this person understands me. They understand my venue. They understand where we're coming from. They like it there. We mentioned like be interested like in whatever the person is saying. And I think all these, things is like showing somebody that you're interested, not just interested in them, but interested in their day. Like someone's not going to hire you if they don't feel like you're interested. Like we shoot a lot of weddings, right? We do hundreds of weddings every single year.
Yeah, you think we're like super...
You think I'm enthused about doing the same venue 10 times
that's
a year?
Great point. Okay.
I'm interested. I showcase, and it shows in our sales. I'm still interested, even though I know we're going to be there 10 times this year. Like you have to showcase to somebody that you're interested. Otherwise, they're not going to be interested in you.
Well, think about it this way. Now, I know for a fact Boston Public Library is a premier venue. Now, I don't like shooting it anymore. I'm bored with it. I've done it a lot. It's not that it's bad. I'm just like, I'm just done it a lot. So I'm over it. But I also know that it is so many people's dream to get married there. And this is what people don't realize. When someone is telling you anything about their wedding, it is their dream. Think about like how anyone who has kids knows, like if your kids are telling you about something they're very excited about, even if it's the dumbest thing in the world, unless it's harmful to them, everyone goes, "Oh my God, so you want to make cakes with mayonnaise on them? Like, we should do that." And maybe you say, "I don't want any." "Ooh, I like it, Daddy." And she eats the mayonnaise cake. Like we all know that like parroting enthusiasm back to people is so important.
Yes.
And like, you have to find a way to be authentically enthusiastic about it. That's true. But you also, and you don't need to lie and say like, "Oh, I hope I get to shoot there like someday," which makes you sound pathetic, or "I'm tired of shooting there." But you do need to let the person know like, because at the end of the day, it's about them. And what you're saying is you have great taste.
Yes.
You have such great taste because then, by extension, you have such great taste that you called me because I'm awesome. And you should hire me because like I'm connected to that thing that also is a great taste. I am part of the suite of great taste. The venue is great. The photographer is great. The planner is great. This city is great. Everything is great. You're great, client. That is what, like, at the end of the day, listening does.
You mentioned parroting, and I think it's worth diving back into that aspect of the conversation because I think it's something that if I do anything well, I think I do that really well. Like, and you know, I said it before, the first half of my conversation is just talking to somebody. I'm understanding about their day. I'm understanding what's important to them. I'm also trying to understand the way that they communicate. Some people are really shy. Like them getting on a phone call with me is like, you know, pulling teeth to them because they are just like, I don't like this. So when I get on the phone with someone and I know they're a little bit more timid, I'm more timid. Yeah. So,
Parroting the energy.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about just what's the day like? Like, you know, my voice changes. My wife makes fun of me when it does. And then if someone brings the energy and they're like interrupting me a lot, I'll give it back to them. And people like that, you know, like I'm around, like my brother-in-law is an Italian guy. He owns a couple pizza shops. It's very loud around the dinner table.
I love that guy.
And, you know, I'm not naturally someone who will like hop in and like start interrupting. But when I'm at their house, it's knives are out. Everyone's just, it's fun. And so I have to like put myself out there. I didn't get a word in edgewise for years until I just started like hopping in and interrupting people. And like, that's what they want. They like me way more now.
It's a family culture.
Yeah.
It's a family culture.
Yeah. And understanding that.
Which by the way, you're kind of like, kind of talking about it casually.
Yeah.
That is such an understated part of wedding sales is you're invading someone's family culture. It is a family event.
Yep.
Whatever their family is like is going to be the vibe of the whole wedding.
Yep.
So they get on the call with their mom and their mom is dominating.
Yep.
Right? I know this is how this family is set up. It's matriarchal.
Yep.
This person is the man. Like we got on a call the other night and I was like, okay, this lady is the boss. The daughter's there. She's sitting there silently, letting her mom handle the whole call. This is how, and it's fine. Like, it's just how it goes. It's like like when you say, like, I don't want to talk to this person, it's like, dude, that's none of your business how that family works.
Yep.
You now you don't have to work with them, but it's none of your business. You got to know that. Like, whatever their family is what it's going to be.
It's a little bit of like, you know, if you were to use an analogy of like wading down a river in a canoe, it's a little bit of go with the flow. But then it's also finding the ways to paddle, right? It's like you go with the flow of like, hey, mom's obviously in charge. This is the dynamic. We're going to go with it. But also pushing into it too. Like, hey, mom's in charge. All right, mom, do this. Like, it's not trying to paddle against the current and being like, I'm a videographer who storytelling is really important to me. So I want to block out mom so I can talk more to the bride and get to know what the bride is like and what their dynamic is. It's like, that's not going to work well with you in that sale.
Well, no,
and to your point, maybe you don't take that because that's what you want. But for me, I know I want that sale no matter what the aspect is. And so I'm going to be like, hey, mom.
Well, let me like push into that a little because why does people think it's any of their business how another family orients themselves? Like, I'm not saying that you can make everyone happy, but it's none of your business. Well, if they like, you're not rescuing this bride. Like, oh, I'm helping this bride, making this mom shut up.
Yeah,
so I can talk. You're like, no, the bride is an adult woman.
Yep.
If she wants to let her mom talk the entire time, it's none of your business. Like,
I don't think it's necessarily people are trying to interject in family dynamics. I think it's the videographer trying to craft their ideal client. And this is the aspect of like where you and I maybe have a problem with like the whole ideal client talk is like you want the wedding. Here's a wedding. It has a great budget. It's at a great venue and you want to craft this story with the bride and groom. They're a big aspect of it. but this one aspect isn't right. So now they're trying to be like, no, I'm trying to go against the flow and like get to know my couple and exclude mom because mom isn't going to be great in the wedding video, right? So it's like, try to find your ideal client and like maybe there's some compromises here. Like that's the aspect that I kind of have a problem with is like, I'm going to get there maybe like with the couple, but maybe it's a couple conversations away. Right now, I know I'm just going to have to deal with mom and that's going to be fine.
So let's talk about family dynamics and listening and I guess signaling and parroting and all these like ways of here's the difference or here's the thing about this problem. When you're talking to a couple, there's a bunch of things to consider. There's that are not wedding specifically related, but they are related to humans in how they interact with each other, which is, and these are in no particular order, but like, okay, how much money do they have? How affluent are they? How quote unquote cultured are they? Like, are they rich people who are engineers? Remember we did a wedding with those guys? They were engineers at Four Seasons. And they were like walked down the aisle to like Tame Impala. They were not like, I wouldn't call them uncultured, but they were not cultured like the way that some other people cultured. They were like nerds, hipster kind of people who got married in one way and they didn't want to do any portraits. And then the only way we got to talking to them was talking about designing video games. Then they come alive. Oh yeah. Like, it's like, that's one type of rich person.
Yep.
And then I remember we did this wedding 2 years ago and it was actually a commercial job and the client didn't hire us, but the planner did. But the client came in to the boathouse. She's talking and she's like, oh, I love this, I love that. And then we traveled here and I could hear all the things she's saying. So I'm like, this wasn't even my client. I'm like, oh, do you like that property? We were considering going there next year. Like, oh, do you like this? Oh, we like, and we just get going, talking. We shoot it. It was good. She was like, oh, I wish I would have hired them. Because not only did she like the video, but she liked me. She thought I was cool to hang out with. And she thought I understood her. Like, she was like, oh, yeah, he can be part of our fantasy day. Because he's not going to be the riffraff. Like, he's going to come in and he's going to understand my guests.
Yep.
And think about that. Like, who would you trust more with your rich friends? Someone who's never been to the Four Seasons or someone who has?
Exactly. Yep.
It's like your rich friends are going to come and like they're not going to have to worry that you're going to be wearing sweatpants.
Right.
And so here's the thing. That client, her sister is hiring us this summer for a very large contract. And a very beautiful, incredible wedding because not only did we do a good job, but they thought we were cool. And we communicated and built trust with them in a different way. It wasn't even in a sales call.
Yeah.
It was just we're just talking about the things like to the dad point. We did a wedding in November and it was clear the dad was in charge.
Still in charge.
We send in the wedding. He's like, I love it, but can you make some changes before I show it to her? He won't even show it to his daughter before he gets. So we're listening, and I see everything. I told her, I'm like, here's what he's gonna say when we get on the call. He wants another film. So I'm ready to sell him a much more expensive, longer cut. And so, but you know what I had to do to get to that? To listen to him for 30 minutes, go through every change he wanted to make. Even though at the beginning of the call, I was like, I think I know what you want. I think you want a longer film, but let's talk about it.
Yep.
I want to hear everything that you're saying, and then I think we can talk about the longer film. But I had to sit there and listen for 45 minutes. And some of it, I was like, that's a good point. Some of it, I was like, I don't care, but whatever. It's up to them.
Yep.
But in every situation, I had to listen to him.
Yep.
And then I sold him something. But the reason why he was like, oh, yeah, I'll give you $3,000 for that is because he's like, this man understands what I actually want.
Yep. There's a couple layers to this that I'm hearing, and we're talking a little bit about being interested, listening. I think taking those first couple steps and then becoming an analyst, you have to analyze all this information. You went into it kind of knowing what you're going to do, but you have to analyze a little bit of it and take that information. The mom at the boathouse, you're taking that information.
That was the bride.
Oh, the bride, yeah.
That was the current bride, the sister of the next bride.
Right. right? But you took it and you're like, what am I going to do with this information?
Yes.
I have data points that I can reference from my own experience. How can I use that now to signal, right? You used that term earlier, like signal to the bride that I understand her. So it's like kind of like a 3-step process of like
And I'm not
ingest,
actually rich, by the way,
analyze.
guys, but I know how to talk rich people.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a skill that I think a lot of people like, people want to work on their, photo video skills like in the edit bay. But this is a huge skill that will probably make you more money at the end of the day, is just talking to people.
Remember when Brian Raffinelli was talking about what he would recommend people do at that Frida talk?
Yeah. He said, go to the Quinn House, become a member of the Quinn House.
Become a member of the Quinn, but then I was like, I don't think so. But
I think it'd be valuable.
Well, you would like to do it, but
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
my
it's a
God.
waste of money. But we've talked about that.
But it helps you understand the world that these people
My
live
point
in.
is, I don't need to, but
Sure.
I don't need to spend $10,000 to know that.
Well,
I could just go on vacations.
Well, you go on vacations, but then also like knowing local culture. You're not going to get that
it's
by
not
going on
nothing.
vacation.
It's
Yeah.
definitely, if you're an event planner,
Yeah.
it makes total sense.
Go to clubs. Clubs are trendy right now, and it's a good use of, if you have to spend money at the end of the year.
Private clubs. Like
yes.
members clubs, not club.
Vegas, yeah.
No, but what he said earlier was when he started, what did he do every day? Not every day. He's exaggerating.
Oh, I don't remember.
He said he went to the Four Seasons restaurant
Yeah.
and sat there
Yep.
and waited for people to come in.
Mm.
And then he would talk. He would just, if he went every day for lunch,
Yep.
eventually he would have a conversation with someone.
Yep.
And they're probably working at a nonprofit or on a board or something like that. And he's an event designer. If you don't know Brian Raffinelli,
Yep.
he's an event designer. And so he created his professional network
Yep.
by going to places. But it's like, I don't know his background. Maybe he was naturally rich, or maybe he comes from that background, or maybe he's a pretender. Who knows why?
Yep.
But he was like, I need to signal to these people that I'm going to spend time with that I am one of them.
Mhm.
Now, here's my question to you. That we're talking about high end, right? These are high end listening things. I think the same skill works in every market. If you're in Alabama, if you're in Alaska, if you're in the middle of America, you're selling to, how does this skill translate maybe to lower tier weddings or weddings where people like Merriment Films? You've been on the Merriment Films calls.
Yep.
Similar kind of stuff. How does that differ between that and maybe more of the high end stuff?
Well, I think the first step is being that analyst of like understanding who your client is. For us, we have a brand called Merriment Films, and that's going to be, in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. That's going to be our contracted team, our team of editors in-house, but also we're outsourcing a little bit to our team overseas. And with this clientele, I would say generally it's going to be a little bit more working class. Generally, it's going to be people that are a little bit on the fence about video because they're coming up against budget constraints. So there's a lot of things that I already understand about this client. And I'm not going to be talking to them about the Four Seasons unless they bring it up. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Okay, pause there.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they haven't had an experience at the Four Seasons, most likely.
Well, and also there might be even more negative. They might think that's snobby.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They might be offended.
Yeah.
They might be like, I could never afford that. Why are you bringing this up to embarrass me?
Mm-hmm.
They don't say that.
Yep.
But like,
they're going to talk about, if I hear a dog in the background, oh, what kind of dog do you have?
Mm-hmm.
My dog is crazy. I love him to death. He's my shadow. I bring him to the office, and my wife can't get a word in edgewise with him because he's my, we're talking about dogs. Like, because they have a dog, I have a dog, something, it's not the Four Seasons. It's something much more relatable.
And I think I've seen this, and maybe you can pair it or tell me if this is what you've seen. I find that people who are in lower end weddings, money spend wise, like not value wise, people are spending less on their weddings, are more excited about their venue than someone who's spending more. So let's imagine like
probably.
Not to say that it's
they're excited about everything, to be honest.
Yes, that's true.
Because
But, like,
it's the first time they've ever spent any amount of money on a photographer, a videographer. Like, it's a little bit like they hate it, but it's also really exciting to them.
yeah, they're excited. Like
Because this is their day.
there's nothing wrong with Ocean Edge or whatever, but it's not like my favorite venue. It's in the Cape, right? That's Ocean Edge. Ocean Edge is this big resort, and I don't really love shooting it because it can be challenging. There's a lot of weddings that happen. And
It would be what most people call a wedding factory.
But to the people who get married there, and this is I found to a person, everyone I've ever shot there is delightful.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is they are so psyched because they're getting married at a castle in Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And to them, it is the nicest thing that they've ever done, the best party they've ever been to. And I'm not insulting them. I'm saying, like, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy for them that they are so happy. And I'm not going to say to them, man, I really hate that place.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to insult them. I'm going to, because that is insulting. If you, like, the issues I have with it are issues about shooting. I don't care otherwise. So why do I need to include that into their lives? Like, the worst thing you can ever do is make someone feel stupid about their choices in a sales call. And what I found with, like, the fancy people are kind of over it, but they're really excited about some aspects.
Yes.
And the lower end people they don't care about some aspects that those other people care about, but they really care about the things they're spending their money on because they don't have as much. And so it's more valuable to them. And so just keeping in mind, like, everything is, and maybe this is my experience and you have a lot more of these calls, like you said it, everything is more exciting to them.
Yep. Can I tell you a quick story to distract us about Ocean Edge?
Ocean Edge.
Ocean Edge is still, to this day, the only place where I've had a couple genuinely invite us to, like, party with them. Like, this is years ago.
The people that get married there is a type of
awesome.
person.
We shot a wedding. It was Frank Boucher when he was still doing photo with us. I did video, and it was a midday wedding.
Okay.
I think a midweek wedding. Random, like a Wednesday, Thursday. And
that tells you so much about everything about the couple, the venue, everything.
The couple was Scottish, both of them. They grew up going to the Cape, so they wanted to come. And maybe it's like where they met or something. Like, they came there a lot.
It's a historical registry hotel, so, like, if you're not from around here, I can see why it's a big deal.
Small wedding, and their reception was literally them on a balcony having a party. Like, their close, immediate family and friends. And I remember, since it was midweek, I invited my wife. She had a cousin who was up from Bolivia. And I was like, yeah, my wife's down the street. They're just hanging out at the beach while we're filming today. And then at the end of the wedding, we're like hugging. They were like, come have a drink, please. You're not leaving. You, like, literally lock the door. You're not leaving until you have a drink with us. And I'm not someone who's ever had a drink at a wedding ever, probably even since then. But, like, because he was so insistent, I was like, all right,
I had a drink by accident at a wedding.
You did?
Yeah, I drank a punch.
And
I was like, I took like 2 drinks, and I'm like, and then I go back and look, I'm like, oh, this is a gin.
Yeah. They invited my wife, her cousin. They were like, come hang out with us. Come have a drink. And I was like, hey, Sam, they really want you to just come hang out. And we had a great time. Like, that was like the only time. It was like 3 p.m. And we were like, all right, we're going to drive home now. Like,
all that to say, like, you're having, like, every like, and not to say you can, like, categorize people by money that they spend or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you get, the other part of listening is you might have presuppositions, give people an opportunity to disprove them.
Yeah.
Don't just make assumptions.
Ocean Edge is also the only place where I'm always offered weed. Every single wedding. Oh, good. Every single, like, without a hitch. I don't get offered weed at any other weddings.
I've had some of the strangest, and I remember, like, I was working with some groomsmen one time. And they were, during the first look, they kept trying to come in, like, oh, and I was finally like, go away. Like, I was just like, stop.
They were trying to do that to
the first look to the couple. They were like trying to disrupt the first look. Yeah. And I was like, leave. And then they're like, then they're like, that guy.
Yeah.
And then every session from then on, they kept being like, oh, are we being too loud? I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just like, but, like, I know for a fact that the groom's like, my boys, you got to get these guys in line, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a bunch of, like, Providence Italian people who love Ocean Edge.
Yeah.
And so they're, like, people that are, like, much more closer to what I am.
Yeah.
So,
just blue collar people that, are looking to have a good time. And
got a little money. They started like a driveway business that did really well.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of people who get married there.
Yeah.
blue collar people who did really well.
Yep.
Versus Museum of Fine Arts.
Yep.
That's not blue collar people.
Yep.
That's affluent people who value art.
Yep.
And so it's like everything a person's doing is telling you what they are, who they are, how they want to be treated, how you can treat their groomsmen.
Yep.
Like if I hear like, people like that, I know I can be like, guys.
Yeah.
If I go to a certain wedding, I'm not going to even speak to the groomsmen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how do I know that?
Yeah.
Now, some of it is like, I don't expect you to hear this and be like, just immediately be able to do this. But it's so, back to your original title, Irresistible Sales.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this kind of thing make selling to that person, like, why does it improve your sales in your mind when you think about like kind of trying to paint a picture of who this person is? And that's really what we're talking about, right? You're listening and then you're trying to come up with who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that improves your sales so much more than just saying like, here's my product, it's good, explaining it well?
Well, first, you know kind of what to talk about. I would say even with like my call script, like we eventually get to the things I want to talk about no matter what, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But people are only going to give you a certain window to like give them an offer, right? So it allows you to kind of get to the point faster. I think, you kind of, when you're able to get under the skin of people and just be like, I trust this person, you have a higher rate of sales. Like, I like to think of it as almost like, Inception, of like you go deeper layers into someone's psychology, and you can, hit homers when you can get to that deeper layer.
I mean, that's such a big thing, is like make a person trust you. I mean, think about the call we had earlier this week or last week. What did that mom say about the venue? That was so, I wasn't expecting her to say it, but I did, to be honest, intentionally communicate it.
Well, she said a few things about it. One thing that I remember that she said about it was, when we were hiring planners, certain planners advised that we not get married at the venue because it was so hard. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because she wasn't interested in hearing that at all. She was like, we're getting married there. What are you going to do to make it happen? And for me, I understand like why planners don't want to get married there, because they have a short window to, load in. Load in is tight there. You have to, and if you're doing huge, like a lot of planners are faced with this, and we know this from our relationships. And this is another aspect of like understanding what other vendors are doing too, right? You understand what the couple's looking for. You're understanding what planners are looking for, what photographers are looking for. It translates to both sides. But I'm understanding that if they have this grand vision of all these florals and it's going to be beautiful, now how do we actually execute on that? That's a challenge, for a lot of planners. So for us, I was like, okay, I understand what the challenge is going to be there. I understand that there's a challenge for us too. Like, we can't film the artwork in this venue. I know that from experience. I know because I've had to sign every single piece of paper that they send our way, which is extensive. I know the insurance has to be typically higher as well. Sometimes it's going to be, but $2 million as opposed to $1 million.
Though, what did we start the call with?
I don't remember. You tell me.
We said, love shooting there.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
So finding a positive to take away from it.
We didn't know. I didn't know any of that other stuff about this couple, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And I just naturally said, they're getting married here. This is a hard place to get married. Mm-hmm. They must really like it. Mm-hmm. I've done it a bunch of times. I know a lot of other people haven't done it at all. So This is a benefit for me to not only tell them my thought was, this place is hard to shoot. If I can express that I like it and that I'm good at it, it will make them feel more comfortable with hiring us. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're having stress with other vendors. I had no idea they were actually having stress with other vendors.
Right.
So when I said that, I tactically made a decision to try to communicate that and signal to them. And then what did she say at the end of the call about the venue and other vendors?
That what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you didn't even finish saying it, because she said much more than that. She actually said the planners don't want to do it. She said, you're the first vendors that we've talked to who are actually excited about our venue. Mm. That's insane to me. Why does everyone know that you're not excited about that?
We're videographers, so we have to go with the flow a lot more than other people.
The wedding planner part, that's why I'm like, I kind of discount that, because that's their job.
Yeah.
Their job is to say,
here are the
shouldn't get married
challenges.
here.
Yeah.
Like, that's no one else's job.
Mhm.
Even the catering. That's none of the catering's job.
Yeah.
Like, the catering needs to put food wherever you decide to get married.
Yep.
The only person who gets to say to them, maybe don't do this, is a wedding planner. Everyone else should be like...
And planners hold all the power. Like, I know the way planners operate, and they're like, I don't want to do weddings there because they need to fix this before I send them weddings because, you know.
Yeah, because they have to, like, be in charge of the world.
Yeah.
So regardless, like, I didn't know that they were having issues.
Yeah.
But I assumed that potentially this could have been an issue to them. But the real question is, why did she care so much that I liked it? In the other, like, that stuck in her brain. The other people, like, she was mad at those people.
Well, it's her venue. It's what she's spending money on. It's the important part. And I think, like, when you've kind of made it up in your head of, like, we're getting married here, like, your deposit is down. Now you're hiring a planner, and they're like, well, you really should try to get out. It's like, no, we're already doing this. I don't want to hear your opinion on the venue. We've already booked it or whatever. Like, just what are you going to do to bring your expertise to this day? Like, that's all I want to hear about. That, when you get to a certain level and you're talking to that kind of client, just make it work.
Well,
you know?
and what's funny about that call too is we went into it going like, I think this person really wants a bigger package. Like, she didn't ask for that. She asked for about half price.
Right.
And we were like, she was sending all these signals to us.
Yeah.
That this was I don't want to say demanding because it's not negative, but a specific person. She wasn't unkind or rude or anything.
Right.
But she wasn't messing around either.
Yep.
She's a serious person. I'm not going to mess with this person. I respect her.
Yep.
And I was like, some people go like, oh, I'm going to ask this person for more money. And this is back to the irresistible sales.
Yep.
If you want to make a sale irresistible, make it what the person's actually asking for.
Yeah.
Give them what they want. And I knew this person wanted personal attention.
Yep.
And no mistakes for their daughter.
Well, you and I had the conversation as soon as this was a 2 call, right?
Yes.
I had a preliminary call, like a normal sales call. And something that she said on the first call was like, who is going to be our filmmaker? And if you don't know anything about kind of like Stop Go Love, kind of like our main bread maker is, we have a team. Most of the people on Stop Go Love are staff. So I'm like, well, right now I'm probably leaning it towards it being, the wedding is next year. So I'm probably leaning it towards it being Jay because I can't fire Jay. He's going to be here no matter what. I probably want it to be him. I could probably assign someone else.
And the venue is challenging, so we didn't want to...
And the venue's challenging, and it kind of checks a lot of boxes. I called Jay, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And he was like, would we want to do Huxley for it? And I said, we could probably upsell. So you and I are kind of on the same page of like, this is what this person wants, the kind of experience that they want. And, so we went into the thing kind of knowing
we
want
didn't
to
go,
like...
I want more money.
No.
Or they need a better film.
We say it would be a better fit.
We didn't, and not even just a better film. It will be a better experience. You are going to get the service you want. And like, if you want to work with rich people, you have to understand this. Wealthy people care much more about service than anything else.
Right.
And service to them means basically, I don't want any problems.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're super attentive to me and you're talking to me all the time or you're getting to know me or you're giving me like a gift after you hire me or like trust me guys, we don't send pricing PDFs. We don't send any gifts. We don't do any of the crap all of you guys do. We send a link to a Google Drive folder and nobody complains and they don't go, you have bad service. You know why? Because we are easy to work with and that is service to them. And so we understand this. I knew this person wanted a high level of service.
Yep.
That's what they wanted. And so I said, what's the highest level of service we have? Huxley Film. Let's propose it. And we gave her a little bit of a deal because of a bunch of situations. So we were like, hey, we think we're going to be willing to do this. And I think what you really want is this. So we were effectively, instead of getting the max that we normally would get, we gave that up. But we doubled, I think, what we would have originally gotten, and they're happier.
Yep.
And I think this is why it's irresistible sales. If you can give someone something that they want and make them feel listened to so that they can trust that you're going to do what you said, they're going to be happy to give you their money. But if you don't make like, you can have the best film in the world, but if someone doesn't trust that you're going to do that film on their wedding, they're not going to be happy.
Right. I think you go to a lot of restaurants and you're a restaurant guy. You like food.
I wish more, but now I have 2 children. So.
Well, yeah. When you sit down at a restaurant, they hand you a menu,
Ooh,
right? And you're looking at the menu. You're like, this looks good. This looks good. This looks good. That's pretty comparable, I think, to our sales in general. I think, being a good listener is kind of like offering someone like a good specials menu. Be like, and here are our specials. Now you can kind of like, you set up the base. Now you're like, if you're interested, here are these. And a lot of times, special menu, those are money makers for the restaurant, right? Because they're a little bit unique, but they're a little bit higher ticket items. Like, you kind of hand that over to people, and now you can almost like upsell them when you set the table really well as a base. Like, that's the way I kind of see like what we did there is like, now we're going to introduce this lady because we know she can afford the cost. She wants the experience. She's used to having that experience. The second phone call we had with her, she's literally in a bespoke fitting room with her husband.
By the way, doesn't appear on camera at all. Say one word.
He's in the background getting a suit fitted, and she's like, I'm here at a fitting.
I thought she was driving, by the way, at first.
She was driving at first.
Her husband was driving.
Maybe.
Her husband was driving, but I was like, she's driving, just FaceTiming us? No, she wasn't.
But this is the experience that they have. They're at a bespoke suit fitting with the husband.
In the middle of the workday.
In the middle of the workday on a Friday. Yeah. These are things that, again,
Notice
you're an analyst.
Yeah.
Like, you're taking it all in. You're like, okay, this is the lifestyle that people live. And you have to understand that. But yeah, I think that's the way we kind of took it. Like, here's our specials menu. Ooh, the specials. You're getting something that's special.
I always like to say to people is, it sounds like what you really want is this, because people want to hear that you understand what they want. And parroting back to them, obviously parroting back emotional energy and vibe, huge. That's a big tip I would give you. Always return back, listening, doing your research, understanding them. But a big part of it is, if there's one sentence I think people should always say in any conversation in a sales is, it sounds like what you really want is this, because, and if you have additional things like, oh, that's so great, so we should do this, but like telling a person back what that they want, especially if you're good at it. If you are actually good at it, you got to get it right. Like, if you say like, it sounds like what you want is this, and they're like, no, I don't want that at all, you're screwed. But you know what? If you can get it right, they're gonna buy it.
Yeah. I think for the person that's first, getting into filmmaking, they're pretty early in their career. This can all sound probably pretty intimidating because there's a lot going on here. There's a lot, and it's not just something that you can take back, analyze, come back the next day. It's all kind of on the fly. I would say one of the most important things to you is like, be confident. It doesn't work unless you're confident in just running
that's so
with this.
Huge.
Like, come into this being like, I understand. The first step is like understanding yourself, right?
You can't project the vibe of, I'm uncomfortable, or I feel like I'm lying, or you can't project that.
Yep. You have to have an air of like, I've been here before. And at the end of the day, isn't that what just being a professional is all about? Like, I've been here before. I do this every day. And there's a difference there. We talked about like pros versus Joes, a couple episodes ago. This is a little bit of an aspect there. I do this every day. There's a reason why I'm confident in it and why I can sell this way. Like, people that are doing a part-time job, this as a part-time job.
Even a no can be comfortable.
It's harder.
Or even a no can be confidence. Like, even if you, like, if you, like, imagine like a different scenario. If a guy, say you wanted a pool in your backyard. And a guy came in and he wanted to put a pool in, and he said to you, because this is, I find a lot, is the actual number one way to know you're dealing with someone who's super inexperienced is to say yes to everything.
Yes, totally.
Like, they're like, you're like, hey, I want to put a pool on this, like your mother-in-law's backyard. They want to put a pool on that field or on that hill. And then somebody's like, yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll just be like, crooked pool. And you're like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like, and a good person, like, well, even your no's will be like, never say no, by the way. Never say no to someone. Say, I can't do this. Here's what I can do. Here's how I'll solve your problem.
Yep.
But even a no, if you know how to do it and you understand, because they're doing the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're scoping you out.
Of course.
They're listening to you. They're trying to understand. And like the fact that you immediately understood the problem, immediately understood quickly that it wasn't going to work,
Yep.
but here's what I'm going to do, is better than like, I don't remember what it was about. And normally if I'm doing something on a podcast, I try to actually remember the actual story. So forgive me. But I remember like somebody saying to me something last year. I remember it was some aspect of a venue or something. And I brought something up that was negative, but with a solution. I was like, oh, well, this is going to be an issue, but we'll do this instead. And she said, oh, no one else told us about that. Mm-hmm. That's good. Thank you for letting us know. We wouldn't have even have thought of that.
Yeah. You know how I do that practically is drone coverage. I know all our venues, every single venue in New England, I know which allows drone, which doesn't allow drone, and which there's maybe a little bit of a gray area. So I'll say,
we won't mention any of them in any scenario.
They'll go,
on this podcast.
Oh, we're getting married here and we want drone coverage, blah, 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 blah. I'll say, okay, their drone policy is this. This is the relationship we have with them, or this is how we maybe get around this. This is what the law is. Blah, 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 blah. I have a solution for it. That is very practical.
Here's a that's a great point.
Yep.
Okay, so that particular aspect. There's a particular venue that we fly drone at all the time. They have, in reality, rules that they can't even enforce, but they can enforce it in the way that they can just not
blackball you.
They can just blackball us, but it's legally you're fine.
Right.
It's just they're like, you're walking so many lines when you're doing this stuff. And it's like, but here's the thing you can't say in a sales call. Well, I'm not going to fly drone at your wedding because I get a lot of referrals from that venue and I wouldn't want to jeopardize my relationship with them.
Right.
Because they don't give a flip. They don't care about your next wedding. They only care about their wedding.
Yes.
So am I going to go and just purposely disrespect the venue?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to try to follow their rules. I'm going to do whatever the gray area is. We're going to walk that gray area. I'm just going to tell the couple, I'm going to do it for you and you're going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell them, I'm not going to launch on this. Like maybe we tell them a little bit or whatever, but we're not going to be like maybe we would say like, let's imagine that one venue we're both talking about, but not talking about. One shot you cannot get is during the ceremony. Mm-hmm. They will. And I remember one person got it and everyone is mad at them and I remember someone was flying drone last year and they have a vendor person who walks around and stops drone people. Mm-hmm. So like early there are ways you can fly drones, shoot the property, but like you don't want to be in front of the couple getting yelled at by the property because that makes everyone uncomfortable, especially the couple. So it's like one of those things where it's like you are telling them no in a sales call, but in a way that makes them confident. And also preserving your relationships and doing what's like, but you don't tell them like, yeah, I can't fly drone because they got this guy who's wandering around and yelling at people. Because back to the venue thing, they love that venue. Mm-hmm. They don't want to hear anything negative about that venue. Mm-hmm. That venue is their dream. They've been thinking about that venue since they were an 18-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. And they went there one time for dinner. Who knows? I'm not going to tell them that venue sometimes yells at my people for getting water. Mm-hmm. Like any of the things that go with the thing. Like might be negative. Yeah. I will never, it's not, they don't need to know about that, guys. Mm-hmm. It's like, they don't need to know all the problems you're dealing with to shoot their wedding. Mm-hmm. They only need to know the ones that are going to affect them.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to your point about, people that say yes to everything. I found the people that say yes to everything are oftentimes like, they're kind of like scammers, right?
Big time.
Like everyone gets these emails. Oh, yes, we're getting married at this one venue and blah, 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 blah. These things don't add up. They're like, name your price, we'll pay it kind of thing. I'm like, what? Normal people don't say that. What are you talking about? Name your price.
Yeah, name your
I'm
price.
like, okay, this guy is a scammer from a different country. And so I just start saying these absurd things. Yeah, we're about 50 miles away, so we'll need an overnight. Usually we do a double overnight at the most expensive, at the Vanderbilt in Newport, $700 a night. Oh yeah, no problem. I'm like, I know a lot of rich people who would be like, what? No, you don't. You don't need anyone who could actually afford it would say no. There'd be stop signs. So it's like anyone who's saying yes to all that stuff, you know they're a scammer. Like rich people aren't stupid. They see it the same way.
Scammer or like literally they just don't know what they're talking about,
Right.
which is like terrifying to people. Like they don't want to hire people who don't know what they're doing.
So I think it's valuable maybe to talk about like where some places are in the sales process to like where you do draw lines. Like, do you have any off the top of your head that you're like, I would draw the line here, or maybe like this specific thing that I would need to
Like
draw some
something
lines
that
on.
I'd be willing to lose a sale over.
Right. Yep.
Maybe I've never encountered this person, but if a person was like a psycho on the call, I would definitely. I mean, it's the same out of you. Like my basic beliefs are: if I can make you happy with my wedding films, I want to sell them to you. If I don't think I can make you happy, I don't want to sell you anything at any price, because
and that's also hard to translate and know who that person is without a lot of experience, without a lot of nuance. Like,
yeah, but if you know definitively, like if the person,
I feel like we accept a lot of psychos too. So I'm like,
no, but I know
can deal with them.
But I know I can make them happy.
Yes,
like I know, like if I do what they want.
And we say that lovingly.
Yeah, I know. Like we can make them happy. We can make them happy, and like we don't turn people down. So like that's the thing is like
we make them happy at the end of the day. I think
none
you're
of
right.
it is like for me. I guess there might be some like ethical things that I've never encountered. Like, hey, we're having this wedding. It's a nude orgy. I wouldn't shoot that wedding. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like,
you wouldn't want to shoot that wedding. That would make news. That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be like that. Would be like defining.
But you would definitely want to hear about it from someone else.
Oh, if you shoot it, please. Like that sounds hysterical.
Don't send it to us. Just
Well, I mean, I think that's just porn.
Yeah.
So, but even
I would want to hear that story.
Maybe like or a KKK wedding or something. I guess I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think through like.
From
big red flags. People who want to be over litigious or like we don't budge on certain contract things, and not because we're not willing to ever budge on any contract things, but like there's a point in a contract where a person's like being unreasonable, where I'm like, you don't trust me, so if you don't trust me at all, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I agree with you on the contract things. Like if people are just like, we want no liability whatsoever. We want to be able to cancel at any point if we break up because we're dealing with relationship issues. Like we want a full refund.
What's the most insane thing someone ever wanted you to change in the contract?
I mean, I think it's insane that people want a certain level of privacy, but that's not insane to everyone out there. I'm just like, dude, get over yourself. Man, I did have one guy who was pretty sticklery on a lot of wording. And I'm like, that just exposes me to a certain amount of risk that I just have zero control over. That's when I have a super
like if somebody wants to get rid of like your reasonable effort clause.
Right.
Where they're like, which is, if you don't know what it is, the clause that says, we're going to try our best to shoot everything, but we're not liable to shoot anything.
Yeah.
Because like if like the flower boy runs in front of my camera and dances, and I miss the bride walking down the aisle, I'm not responsible for that.
I just
anything like that exposes me to liability. I probably say no to.
I get a little weird when someone wants me to do a lot of back and forth on the contract, because that's the part that it should just be super turnkey, and I just don't have enough time. I'm not a lawyer, so it's like people want to go back and forth. I'm like, I'm not interested in having legal conversations.
We paid a lawyer to make the contract.
I know.
So like,
so there was a point where I was like, if you want me to change that, you're going to have to pay my lawyer $300 an hour, which is his rate. I'm not going to make money off of it, but like there was a point where it's like, if they want certain things that I'm not sure of, if it's not super easy, if they want to dive into like some legalese, like we deal with a lot of lawyers, unfortunately, or fortunately, thank you for your work.
I would say
but,
fortunately.
Yeah. But
unfortunately,
America, when it comes to like someone who's in law school, who's like into diving into contracts, I'm like, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to have this conversation with you. I'm sorry. Like, I will let that contract go away because I'm like, I'm not going back and forth with my lawyer, going to spend $600 on figuring out your freaking contract, dude. Like, sorry.
Well, and we don't really Like,
Yeah.
it's just not going to work. But I would say in general,
had-
there isn't too many things that I would really.
There's not too many, and we deal with hundreds of clients every year. Yeah, so these don't pop up a lot. You know, I did have someone who was like, "Well, technically, you should pay me for my likeness in your
God.
video," and I was like, "This probably isn't going to
Okay,
work."
let me ask you a question
Yeah.
about because we're kind of talking in our context, which is like our beliefs are try to sell as many weddings as we can.
Yep.
Try to make people very happy, and we cater to a more affluent clientele, even at the bottom of our market. So that's who we are. That's our context. What about like sales? Like, and we're not experts in this. So the reason why I bring it up is to say, I know some of you are like, I don't work with that type of clientele. I'm selling like bottle brush films.
Mm-hmm.
I want to sell like a more weird film. I do think some of the same rules apply, don't you?
Like ideal client.
And
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely, because you have to know who this person is. You have to be a good listener to like, you know, set up a narrative of who this person is.
Can I bring up one thing I think that I don't know? Maybe tell me how this lands on you.
Sure.
Say a person's like, oh, I'm not like into like normal films, I'm more into like indie stuff.
Yeah, I get some of those.
And then you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then they're like, blah, 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 Wes Anderson. What is the first thing you think?
This person's super pretentious.
They're not into indie films.
Yeah.
They like the one stereotypical indie person.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the funny thing about Wes Anderson is like, oh, super organic. I'm like, he is easily the most. He's like
Not organic at all.
His cameras are like characters in the film.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
this is what I find a lot of times is someone will say something like that, but then they'll also talk on the other side of their mouth and be like, "We want you to be super inobtrusive into the day.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want you to intrude on our day." And I'm like, what you're telling me are two different things. Like, I know that as someone who's very experienced, and I had someone like last week, they sent me a video from the Sintra Castle, the Palace,
Which they didn't know we shot.
Verde. They didn't know we shot. They sent me a video from there. They said, "We want something like this." After I had told them, "Hey, you know, with Stop Go Love, like, we're out of the way. We want to be a fly on the wall." They were like, "Well, have you seen this video?" And then I was like, because they said, "Oh, that's what we want. We want someone." And I watched the video and I'm like, okay, that girl's like literally like a model. First of all, she is used to being in front of the camera. She is making contact with the camera relentlessly.
70% of the film was just
Her
fake portrait
blinking
work.
her eyes, winking, you know, at the camera. Like, I
There
was
was
like,
almost nothing from the wedding.
there's nothing from that. That's all it was. It was an editorial shoot that looked like it was for a fashion brand. So I was like, what is it? Oh, yeah, well, we don't want that. Okay, then what did you like about that film?
Yeah, what did it
Oh,
mean?
well, it was really beautiful. Okay, well, have you seen our films? Like, you know, like that stuff irritates me because I'm like, you're just kind of like a dumbass. Like, you actually don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Did she end up booking it?
no, not yet.
How did
I
she
don't even
respond
know.
to your Huxley film that you sent?
Well, this was like Thursday of last week. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, here's the video that we did. Do you like this? Like, you should hire us to do this.
She was like, no, I like that other one better.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, people just, I'm talking to the guy, by the way. So the guy's always
Oh,
taking way
no.
longer. The girl doesn't want to be involved because she's in med school or something.
Oh, no.
But so I'm like, whatever. I can throw my weight around with these people. Because it's like, for them to do that, you have to go above what they're throwing at you. Otherwise, you're just going to be like subservient to them
too,
all day.
right? That's
yeah,
listening
it's like,
too.
no. You have to trust me as the authority. In order for this to work, you have to think I'm better than that filmmaker. If you don't think I'm better than that filmmaker, you're just going to be like, I wish it was more like, no, you have to like what I like. Like,
Yes.
I will
think
force that upon them and lose that job all day.
That is a non-negotiable in sales. Is you should be willing to walk away. Like back, I mean, kind of what I said, but we both said it in a different way, which is you have to be happy with what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy with what I'm going to do, I don't want to deal with you because you're going to make my life miserable.
Yep.
And like, I think even if you're like a hipster brand and you're not like able to connect on luxury hotels and whatever, and say you're a hipster brand, you make Bottle Brush or A Little Long Distance or The Smiths or whatever brand you can point to that you like, that is inspiring, that's doing kind of rogue renegade weddings. That's who you are. You've put it out there. They called you for that reason. But they're in reality a total poser who only watches. They're a rich person who tries to identify with hipster culture by only watching like 5 hipster things that are actually pop culture. They're not even actually indie. And the last thing you should do is say to that person, what I like is this film, a real good film. You should say to them, oh, I love Moonrise Kingdom. One of my favorites. My favorite part is this. And what if we did a shot like this at your wedding? Now, you're not doing Wes Anderson. You're doing one shot.
Yeah.
That's like Wes Anderson. But give that person, don't make a person feel stupid. Make them feel like a genius for saying that to you. And then make them feel like you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is I think.
You know why I know Wes Anderson isn't an indie type filmmaker
he's a
anymore?
genius.
He's a genius. I love his films. But I know he's not a real indie filmmaker because my dad loves Moonrise Kingdom. My dad, who's like a UPS truck driver, like his entire career, loves that movie. He's like, oh, that movie was awesome.
It's funny how those films have aged. I was watching, what Tarantino film was it the other day? We were watching Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
And I remember not loving it in the theaters because I was like, this is so much talking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's worse now.
Worse.
Like it feels worse. I watched that movie and I was like, there's such little that happens in that movie. Like you think that movie is like brutal and they're like killing Nazis, like kill Nazis. Yeah. They don't kill hardly any Nazis in that movie. They don't have scenes of brutalizing Nazis for that's what I was hoping. Yeah. They have one cool scene where they blow Hitler up and then one scene with the bat.
Yeah.
But even that bat scene, I'm like, oh my God. Like remember how the bear Jew walking down the hit in the against the thing, he's walking into that. Do you remember how long it takes him to walk down that dark alleyway? It's like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It's funny is like you look at all this stuff and you're like, well, I don't know why I'm talking about this in this episode, but just the way, I guess I don't know why, how people perceive something has so much not to do with what's actually in the thing. And how they think other people perceive something. And you have to be okay with that. When you're talking to wedding couples is like, they're throwing things out there when they're talking to you that they think you're going to think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I definitely see that.
And they want you to be like, do you know?
Oh, I know about this too.
Also, I like it. And I like that you like it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, it's so important to people that you respond positively to the things that they throw out.
Yeah.
Because it makes them feel like you respect them. Because trust is big, but respect is even bigger.
Yep.
And showing someone respect, not like, oh, you're not cool enough to talk to me. That's it. That is the most resistible sale.
So circling back on drawing lines, I think the thing for me that I think is important to also add is also just like drawing lines on deliverables.
That's a big one.
Because I think that everyone does it, no matter what stage or part of the spectrum of wedding films you're on. You could be on the low end and be like, oh, I don't create an Alex Douglas type of film. That's important for you to say, because if someone's expectation is like, hey, you're charging $1,000 and you're going to deliver an Alex Douglas film where he's like using, clips of rockets shooting into the sky and like science and all this stuff. That's important to clarify and draw lines with what your deliverables are. But then also, yesterday I had someone say, oh yeah, I talked to another videographer and they said that they would deliver screenshots from all the clips as well, and go through and deliver hundreds of screenshots. Do you guys offer that? I said, no, we don't offer that. I'm not even willing to entertain doing that.
I don't want to.
I don't want to do that. I think it's stupid, actually.
I don't like it.
Are you hiring a photographer as well? Why do you need that?
Well, and also, this is the calculation
I wouldn't say that
in that call is do I want to explain to this person that that's not going to work?
Yeah. Right.
Not really.
Do I want that to exist in the world? Not unless I'm getting paid a lot more money to do it, because I know whoever's offering that is just like, side, right? I bet that other videographers aren't offering screenshots
Well,
Okay.
they're trying to say, like, wouldn't it be, maybe they won't hire a photographer. Like, this is what is obviously happening.
Yeah.
That filmmaker thinks that someone is going to only hire a filmmaker and not hire a photographer and just take their video clips.
Sure.
That is what they think.
But then they hired a really expensive photographer.
But
too,
also,
so.
that's just dumb. It's not true.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing for anyone involved. And what's going to
Good.
end up...
You want photos that are a little blurry due to the motion blur in the
But it's
video
like
camera.
the least
Like, good
flattering
job.
blur in the world because it's like weird digital.
And then also, all your photos are going to be horizontal. Guess what most wedding photographers shoot? They shoot vertical. So this is stupid. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into that. I was just like,
no, you're not explaining
we don't
that.
do
Like, you can't explain it. This is what I'm saying. Like, is part of, like, you said, no, I don't do that. And that, I think, is the right thing to say.
Yeah.
What you didn't say was, no one should do that. It's a bad idea. It won't work. Here's
Yeah.
the technical reasons. Here's how digital, and like, here's how, like, interpolation works.
Yep.
And like,
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah, no, we don't do that. It's just not something we offer. We don't have the infrastructure to even really do it. Like, I would have to have like one of our junior editors or edit assist do that. Like, I don't have a process for that. Like, no, we just don't do it. So that's a line for me.
but even
So,
then, I think that stuff helps your sales.
yeah, yeah,
Because you're showing them that you respectfully and kindly said no to something
Yep.
for the good reason.
yep,
And like that makes people feel like, like maybe this other people are full of crap. Like, well, this person, like everything they said up until that point was super credible, and they listened and they sounded good and they were really respectful.
Yep.
That same call we had with that mom, she said, "You guys, I definitely want to work with you. I like you."
yep.
So like
But-
you can get away with saying no about some small issues if you've done the other stuff correctly.
Yep. There's another good example, and I just saw this in someone's Facebook conversation of a lot of people are doing this, by the way, and I know you have thoughts on it. Couples that only want you to cover 4 hours, 3 hours, ceremony, toast, dances, no highlight film, just full events. Would you do that? Is that a line
No.
for certain filmmakers?
It's a line.
It's a line for me.
It's a
I
line for
wouldn't
me
do it.
right now.
I wouldn't do it because it's opportunity cost. That's it. That's
Yes.
my reason.
Yes.
If you're not busy,
Not morally.
Yeah, totally.
I actually think our industry needs a category of product
yes,
that doesn't make highlight films, or at least like is more focused on. And I think in some
a lot of people don't get a wedding videographer because they don't offer just that. They
Yes.
don't want the whole thing. They just
we could
give me
probably
something
like
simple like my mom got.
we could probably go up 10%, 20% market share if more couples could get an affordable ceremony, and that's it.
Yep.
But it's just not. The problem is it's not worth it to the filmmaker to give up a full coverage.
Right. Right.
And so
we
I don't
only
know
shoot
what you-
half the year for
That's why-
1 or 2 days any given week in that half a year. So it's just opportunity costs. When I
But
could have a $10,000 wedding film and you want me to do $1,500 worth of work, like,
yeah, I would tell them like, call me 2 weeks ahead of time,
right.
and if I'm free,
If I'm
then
free,
I'm
then
happy
we're
to do
free.
it for you.
Yeah.
But it's like even that no, like you could still get a sale out of them if you can explain to them why, and that you're hearing them.
Yep.
And you're listening to them, and you understand what they want, and you understand, and even like explaining to them why you can't do it. Maybe you don't say opportunity cost, but you're just like, well, and try to do your best to make a person feel like you respect them by communicating with them and actually telling them stuff. Like,
Yep.
again, back to the don't say yes to everything in a sales call. If you want to sell, you should never say no, but you should never, not never say no, but you shouldn't say the word no. They're just not a great presentation of no. You should present no as a positive. Here's what I will do. Like, but that being said, you should never say yes to everything either.
Yep.
Like, that's not irresistible sales. It's saying yes to everything and giving everyone, like, you should make a person feel respected to and listened to, and then your number one goal in sales is to understand what they really want and give it to them and be the best at that.
Yep.
That's what you're really good at, is understanding what this person really wants out of a wedding film.
Yep.
And we probably lose some sales because we're not doing what people want. And we're okay with that.
Yep.
And you have to be okay with that too. Like, if you are like really want to make, like I mentioned, these renegade filmmakers in sales, you have a lot more barriers to sales than people like us, because you need a certain type of buy-in to get your days and whatever. But you're not like, you're perfectly within your rights to say no to people.
Yep.
Like, and you know that if you can or can't do, like, there's some people who cannot shoot some of the venues we shoot.
Yep.
They could not make a good film with that couple and those weddings. I don't think you should shoot those films. If you can't do a good job, you should not do it. Mm-hmm. This is not about like ideal client or money or happiness. It's like literally you didn't make a good film and you don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. I think that's another good reason you might want.
Do you think anyone's ever turned down a wedding like that?
Probably.
You think so?
Maybe.
I think it's, I mean, and to be honest, I mean, for us, I don't think I would ever turn down a wedding like that.
Oh, me
like
either.
One that's above my grit, like it's fake it till you make it.
Well, and
right?
I also don't think that you should just say, I'm not saying you say no to it.
Right.
I'm just saying if you chose to, I wouldn't necessarily think it was horrible of you is all I'm saying.
Right.
I personally think you should trust yourself. And
I think I know some photographers who have been like, no, it's just too much for me.
I know a lot of people who say
Yeah.
that. I don't know if they've actually said, like, what's funny to me is like half the people are like, I don't want to do luxury weddings. I'm like, dude, what luxury weddings are even calling you?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You never, you don't want to do something that no one's giving the opportunity to do? Sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's like me saying, like, I don't want to be president. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. If I could be president, reasonably speaking, if I was like one of the 5 things I could choose to do and I had a likelihood of success, I would be president. Just because why not? Like, what person is not going to reach for the highest heights? Not everyone, I guess, but a lot of people. The real reason I'm not ever going to consider being president is it's impossible.
Yeah.
I could never be president.
I don't think I would want to be president, honestly.
Whatever. I think you would.
I don't think so.
I think if it was reasonable and like there was a bunch of PACs coming to you and saying like, we're going to give you billions of dollars and we love you and we believe in Jared and you're the exact person for America, I think you would be like,
it would introduce so much into your family. It would introduce, you would hate it. It would be the worst.
I think that most people would do it.
I haven't set up my life to support that.
It's never exactly
stupid.
That's the real reason.
Yes.
Like you're not.
I have a reasonable reason.
It's not
like,
possible.
Yeah.
It's not even an option.
If I was 20 and it was like, this is my path, like.
So I think a lot of people are like, but my point is on to say, a lot of people who talk about not wanting to do luxury weddings are not even being presented with luxury weddings.
Right.
So like they're just turning down nothing.
Totally.
It's just basically.
It's the whole thing of like, can you really be peaceful if you're not a soldier? Right.
Yes.
Like
exactly. I'm a pacifist. Where do you live? I live in Malden.
Yeah.
And like I go to coffee shops and
like
no one has ever tried to fight me and I've never had to fight anyone.
It's not a choice unless you're offered, unless you have the power to do that choice. Like,
yes.
Right. It's like
people who are shooting luxury weddings are probably the only people in the market, or weird weddings,
right.
like more edgy stuff. Those are the only people who are actually turning stuff down.
Yeah, they can say, I want to spend more time with my family. And they're the ones who are actually saying, like, I don't want to do this job.
I only want to do 10 weddings a year, and I have enough leads, and they're all $25,000 minimum, yep. And I'm good at shooting these things. And so if I shoot one that isn't within that world,
yep.
It's going to hurt my career because I need the portfolio to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
They have a business reason. So I would say, like, saying no, I guess, I don't know why we're talking about saying no on a sales podcast.
We're getting off topic, but maybe that means it's a good time to wrap.
So let's end it with this. End it with this. Real quick fire. What are 3 things you think a person can do? And we can maybe come up with 3 reasons, but one of them, some we've already said, but 3 things that someone can do to make their sales more appealing to people that are not just, because one of the things that we've done here is sales as an art form, not what you're selling, not how you're packaging what you're selling, but how you are conducting yourself. And I think that's an important thing. We haven't really said that explicitly, but that is what we're talking about, like the art of sales. We're not talking about making an offering more appealing or better PDFs or like that stuff is not, it doesn't matter. It's just not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So what would we say to someone really quick if they're like, hey, give me a couple tips to quickly make my sales more irresistible? My sales calls or my consultations or my interactions with clients.
Yeah, it would come down to the 3 words that we probably already talked about are listen, analyze, and signal. Those are the 3 steps. Like taking it in, analyzing it, putting it back out there. Like that is just communication in general, and you know, doing that over and over and over in a way. You know, take stock in the conversations that you have after every consultation. How did that go well? Why did that go poorly? I'm brutal on myself. Like, why did this go poorly? Oh, it's because I was distracted. This person's really boring. Like, how can I hone in on doing better? Like, you know, I do a lot of sales. Sometimes it is like that. I'm like, I had 7 consultations yesterday. By the end, I have to lock in, dude. Like, it's hard.
I've been on some consultations where I'm like, I'm on in my honest moment. I'm like, I don't even know where this person's wedding is. Right when I'm about to get on the phone with them,
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I usually have to like quickly do it, like really quickly, because and what I've noticed, Jared, is they don't even bring it up most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't know what it is, I feel like if I don't have that information in my head, I can't do the call.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the couple doesn't care, but I care.
Yep.
I don't have the confidence I need to deal with the call because I'm feeling like insecure.
Yep.
And I think the last thing I would add is make sure you are putting yourself in a position to come across confidently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, know your packages. Like, one of the things I do all the time that I hate, because I'm not in direct sales. My sales are usually either client support sales or
your reinforcements in a lot of ways.
Direct to vendor sales.
Yep.
And one of the things I don't do very well is I don't know all our pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody will say to me, and sometimes I do it on purpose, like where I'm like, I don't want
Totally right.
I don't want to give away the farm.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, because Jared might have changed it, because I don't make him tell me everything. He might just change things. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure. I think we're around this price. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't fixed it, so I guess I don't hate it that much. But it's one of those things where it's like, I know that makes me feel not confident. I'm not sure the client even cares about it. Mm-hmm. But I know it makes me feel not confident, and I don't perform as well when I'm not confident. And I think you need to become confident. So, like, whether it be like, look at that person's venue, look at the other weddings that are there, actually read their consultation, like, that they filled out, like, and actually get yourself up to speed. Make sure you memorize their names, like all these things, so that you can focus on listening. Mm-hmm. And that's why you need to show up confident. Back to your original points, listening, analyzing, and signaling. You can't do those things if you're thinking about yourself the whole time.
Yeah.
And the number one way people think about themselves is when they're nervous.
Yep.
If you're nervous, you need to find a way to not be nervous. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's one reason, I mean, we didn't really talk about this at all, but I think phone sales, even more so, like, as much as I hate it, Zoom sales is important. Like, I know my hit rate goes up when I'm on a Zoom. I haven't fully changed over to Zoom calls because I do so many.
Well, and a lot of our clientele are not, they're out of pocket when they're working.
Yeah, they're at work, and it's a little bit harder. And you know, I like scheduling the rest of my, I can be much more productive when I do phone consults. So it's like a good in between. Like, I can take a call. I have a call at 4:00 today when I'm going to be driving back to my house, 45-minute to an hour drive. I'm going to take a call at that point. I'm scheduled one call every Wednesday because I know I'm in the office. Yeah, like, I have it dialed of like who's filling out certain slots. But I know if I was to hop on a Zoom and someone can see my face and tell if I'm lying to them or not, and they can like me a little bit more, I think that's...
Even just see how you dress.
Yeah, just see the way I dress, what my background is, like basic stuff. Like, I have a good setup at our house. I hop on, I turn my camera on. The first thing they say is, oh, this guy's a good videographer. He knows how to produce good-looking video.
The amount of people who said when I use my professional, and I think this is overstated, by the way, the professional Zoom thing.
Yeah.
But what's not overstated is you feel better.
Yeah.
You feel better about going into that call when you're in a good place and you're in control.
Yep.
And I think don't discount that. You can't really do the 3 things Jared said effectively until you feel good about what you're selling and who you are. Mm-hmm. And so building that confidence up and showing up with confidence, whatever it takes for you to do that, do that.
So I think probably the best action point that someone can take if you're still feeling a little iffy on sales or you know, want to reinforce your process, the best resource I can give you is our coaching consultation. I do a lot of sales. Jay does a lot of sales. I think we're both good resources here. You can go to weddingfilm.school/coaching. You can set up a consultation with us and just talk through your own process. I think that's probably a good place to kind of get
You know what we
started.
should do with people? And I've never ran this by him, podcast listeners. So if Jared says no, he might say no. I think it'd be fun if someone wants to sign up for a coaching call to do a mock consultation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And have them we'll fill out a form.
Yep.
We'll hop on and we can evaluate how it goes.
Seems strange, but it's actually effective. Like if you listen to all these gurus who do sales, like they'll just be like, give me your pitch right now. That's what they do. I don't necessarily perform pretty well because I'm so personal in the calls. It's like, how am I going to be personal with this like guru person or something?
Because to me, it's not even about pitch matters. You do need a pitch. But I think like pitches matter less in weddings than I think listening. Mm-hmm. Because like a pitch is like the elevator pitch thing. You know, it's like, come on right now. Like, what would you do to sell my idea to you in less than 2 minutes?
Yep. Give me your elevator pitch.
Give me your elevator pitch. That's not how you sell weddings.
Yeah.
Like your elevator pitch is, I'm a wedding filmmaker. I make weddings.
Yeah. Well, a lot of sales world is B2B.
Yes.
Right.
B2B,
it's not necessarily B2C.
When you're selling directly, especially to women, you have to connect with how they want to connect in their emotions and listening. Yeah, I know women and men
Gender
don't
is
exist.
a construct.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Except, when you want to make money. Which, why do companies all not do that?
Yeah. Well.
So, because people want to be sold differently. So that being said, like you're mostly selling probably to women and some men, and it's a different emotional context. That's the other thing is it's a wedding. It's emotional. Like it's personal. It's not like they're not buying a shirt or something. And so I think that's a big thing for you to keep in mind when you're selling this stuff. But you hop on a call with somebody and we can set it up and like we can get a fake bride there. Mm-hmm. We can just observe.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, but I think that'd be fun. I think like if somebody's down with it, like we'd love to do that with you.
Yep. And give pointers and, kind of customize it to someone's needs. Like someone's going to pitch very differently than I do for their business, for the type of market they're trying to reach. So I think, having 3 different businesses, I pitch 3 different ways. Like the call script might be similar, but the way that I actually pitch products and
what you're listening for too.
Yep, is important. And then it does go into another aspect that we didn't really talk about, which is your package construction, which, I think a coaching call can kind of dive into a little bit more because it is just so personal for what you're trying to sell. So other places that you guys can connect with us, obviously the Facebook group is lit, as the kids say. Good conversations happening over there. Check that out. And then also checking out our 2 YouTube channels, the Wedding Film School Show, which you're listening to this podcast currently. Also, Wedding Film School, kind of the OG channel there as well. It's a pretty big deal. So anyways, guys, hope you've had a good listening experience this time around as Jay tries to adjust my camera.
Well, the power fell out, I just realized.
Good,
your camera probably stopped rolling about 50 minutes into the
Good. So this will be a fun one to edit to for whoever's going to be doing it. But
at least in the last 30 seconds, I'll have your angle.
Oh, good. Show my face. So I hope you guys have a great week this week, and we'll see you again next time here on the Wedding Film School Show.